Well, hello and welcome to this very sad and important subject, which seems to be bedeviling us as a country. And I'm talking about suicides. Being about 5 suicides in almost a month. Well, alleged suicide in almost a month. But this is one thing which I think, we have not paid much attention to. And that's counseling children who who are going through school. They seem to be a walking baggage, lots and lots of walking baggage. And there are people working with so much emotions who need help. And authorities and people who, as I say, the powers that be should act now rather than later. My name is Anan Sakwal the fourth, Akwamodu Masahini, and also your host. When I come back, I'll introduce my guest and we'll start talking. Well, thank you very much for staying. Suicides on the rise. Indeed, is it on the rise, or is it just that we media men are now catching on to it? With me in the studio, sat right next to me, is Ako Hayfron. Mrs. Ako Hayfron, who is a clinical psychologist. Ako, you're welcome. And Happy New Year.
Many Happy New Year.
Good. And then I have Professor Samuel Oheniba Jono, who is a licensed clinical pastoral counselor. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Very good. But we have a little insert, so we will watch that to set the conversation.
I know Jennifer is a nice person. She's friendly, and then she talks a lot too. And she's a bit kind of jovial too. And then what I know in particular is that she loves herself. As for that, I'm very sure about that, because she would buy any type of cream to make sure her skin glows. She would do anything to make sure she looks good. I remember seeing her, but I don't know if it was in the morning yesterday or the day before yesterday. That is what I'm not too sure about. Well, I was asleep and then I heard noise, like someone was actually downstairs clapping and shouting. So I got to my balcony, and then the person was like, we should make sure that all our roommates are inside. So because someone had fallen down. So I went to the veranda and I checked, and I saw that the body was lying there with blood over the head, where the head was positioned.
What could make a 23-year-old final year student commit suicide? That is the question that remains unanswered on the lips of family, students, and authorities of the University of Ghana, who woke up to the horrific scene of Jennifer Nyako lying in a pool of blood after allegedly jumping to her death. It is unclear what may have caused her to allegedly jump or fall from that height, but some students say she has been moody and kept to herself lately. Describing the kind of person the late Jennifer was, her floor and coursemate said she was friendly and open until this semester when she turned moody.
The way she was last semester, she's not on herself. You could see something is disturbing her, but I can't really tell what it is.
School authorities say the police have taken over the matter and are investigating what might have caused her death. It is unconfirmed whether the late Miss Nyako was suffering from any illness or disorder. Public Relations Officer of the university, Stella Amwa, spoke with Joy News.
You await the report from both the hospital, from the police, and so for the other professionals, and then we can come up with really what happened. So for the moment, we do not want to be speculative and make any assumptions. I think this is very bad news, very disheartening for the University of Ghana.
Her body has since been deposited at the Legon Hospital morgue. For Joy News, Matilda Pamaga, Legon.
Terrible, terrible, sad and sad and sad. And and coming straight to Aku Hayfron, who's a clinical psychologist and also a lecturer at Central University. Aku, is it time for, because I remember, I think sometime last year, clinical psychologists were literally, telling people how important it is they are and why your services should be engaged. So is it now time to launch that revolution, if I may call it again, that listen, you are available and that your services,
It's beyond time, Nana. It's beyond time because, we should be able to go out there and help people. And people should feel free to come to us. Unfortunately, it looks like there's a gap. I don't know who created or how that was created, but it looks like there's a gap between the populace and us. And we are trying to move into the circle. But there's something preventing us. I don't know whether it's cultural, because most people would rather do family stuff than approach a counselor or a clinical psychologist for that matter.
I said once that every secondary school should have a counselor, even if it's not permanent and it's a visiting one that comes twice a week. But anytime I say that, I'm chuckled at or I'm laughed at.
Why?
I don't know why.
Because it's very necessary. You see, people have issues, they don't know who to talk to. And unfortunately, a lot of parents currently don't even have the time to pay attention to their children, let alone listen to them and find out what it is that's bothering them. So that's where we come in to see how best we can help them. Unfortunately, if we are not being allowed to do that job, then the children are left to themselves, and then they do all these kinds of things.
So what would a clinical psychologist do? Let's say if you are attached to a school, what would you be doing?
You'd be interacting with them. First and foremost, allow them to feel free to express whatever emotions they're going through. Discuss with them possibilities and how they can handle themselves.
Imagine a boy came and they thought they have gay tendencies. Aren't you going to judge them? Say, hey,
no, we are not supposed to. It is unethical for a clinical psychologist or a counselor, proper counselor, to judge. It's wrong. We don't do that. We are not supposed to do that.
Let me go on to Prof. What is it? Is suicide on the rise, or it's just that the media is now paying attention to it?
I think we have a lot of cases of suicide. Suicide is there, but who actually amplifies or tries to bring these cases to the public domain? I don't think we have a lot of people. People are more interested in things that will bring money into their pockets. Somebody's interest probably may not be served when such things are brought to the fore. And so these things do happen, they are happening, but I think there are some responsible journalists or media who are trying to quickly bring these things out into the public domain so that people will know what is happening. I wish to say that there is a way out, there is a solution to every problem. Unfortunately, people have always concentrated on the medical aspect and also the spiritual. We have a lot of people out there who are prophesying and purporting to have powers to do deliverance and so on. But it's not everything that is deliverance. It's not everything that is spiritual. People have a lot of things bottled up within them. These are emotional issues. And they just want somebody who is a listener. Unfortunately, we live in a world where everybody is talking. People don't want to listen. And a counselor or a psychologist is trained to listen. When you listen and you empathize with people and you encourage them, they are able to come out with what is bottled out or bottled up within them to be assisted, to be helped.
See, Prof, people fear that, you know, if, especially yours, you know, I have pastoral counselors, if I go and tell him my problems, next Sunday's sermon, you know, it will be my topic.
Yeah, it's because people are really not trained. They are not trained in this area of using talk for a therapy to be able to heal people. And so they are a bit careless in handling the information, private information of people, which should not be divulged to a third party. And these are some of the things that has stigmatized, you know, the profession of the psychologist or the counselor. And many people think, well, I have attempted this before, my message was out there, I've been embarrassed and so on, so there is nothing in this. If people are not trained, but they try handling cases that they don't have the jurisdiction or the authority to be able to handle, they mess up the whole thing, and that is the situation. We believe that the solution to the problem of people do not lie even in the psychologist or in the counselor. The solution is in the people themselves. And by asking the right questions, you'll be able to elicit the right responses that you will use to help the people themselves. Unfortunately, people have become bag of ideas. They think they know it all. So they will quickly come, when you start talking, they will judge you, they will come with solutions and advice, go and do this and that and that. And people find it sometimes very, very simplistic and very difficult even for them to obey. It may work for you, but you cannot put the people in a certain mold. You have to let them talk to you and tell you exactly what their problem is. Then you will know how to help them to unwind or to come out of that situation.
I could, before you know, as soon as you say psychologist, it means
You
I'm
see,
mad.
the thing,
If
no,
I go,
not
if I
necessarily.
go and see a psychologist, then it means I'm mad.
Some people think that way. Others do think that the person will read your mind, that we are mind readers. And that is one fallacy that we always try to let people realize that that is not true, you know. But we help people regain their confidence. We help people try to form better ideas and images about themselves and about whatever situations they're going through in order to be able to survive, you know. Because there are some people who have been told that you're a dum-dum. You can never perform anything good. So with such a person, if he or she comes to see the psychologist, clinical psychologist or the counselor, then that person would get the opportunity to be spoken to or interacted with and encouraged and made to identify some positives in him or her, which will help the person become a better person in society. So for me, I think that it is up to us also, as the Ghana Psychological Association or Council, to project ourselves better in the media, etc., if only we'll be given the opportunity to do so, so that people will realize that the tags they've put around us, that we are mind readers and we are this and all kinds of things, will be dispelled, and would rather allow people to feel free to seek our services and also get the necessary help they need.
Should people be now walking around and trying to spot, my friend is behaving oddly, she doesn't eat kenke, all of a sudden the whole week she's eating kenke, and what do you, I mean, should we be looking out for things, and what should we look out for?
It's good to notice changes in people and also inquire from them why the change. But if you notice the change and you just assume that maybe it's normal, that's where there could be a problem. If you as an individual can't help, you may suggest to the person to seek some help, okay? But if you just say, oh, I saw it, but I thought, what did you think? You see. So it is better for you, yes, be observant. It's good to be observant. And once you observe certain changes that are not positive, it is good to seek help for the person or ask the one to seek his or her help in order to forestall some of these problems.
Prof, here we are, you know, imagine I've come from Dumasa to school and the whole term, all I had was maybe 150 cedis to my lorry fare, my feeding, everything. And there's a girl who came with maybe 5,000 trunk full of food and everything. And, you know, she's probably moody one day and you ask her, and the problem she tells you, for you, you know, you want that problem. You know, that's a problem you need. So the first thing you tell them is that, you know, you're a sports child, and you know, get over it. And that could be a big problem, where somebody's issue that they are crying over, I mean, that's a problem you hope that you would have gotten. And so how then do you counsel such a person?
Well, you don't take people for granted, even if they are children. People problems are very serious issues. They are issues that they are struggling with. They may be internal, but these are serious concerns that they are battling with. And people can be very vulnerable, that if these people are not well handled, they feel frustrated. They feel intimidated, humiliated. They feel unwanted. They feel they are even a burden to other people. They feel discouraged. And then they just feel like, well, I am not loved. Just want to probably end it so that I'll stop being a problem to other people. The signs to suicide are always on the wall. Like my sister is saying, if people are observant, unfortunately, people are not even observant because the education for them to know, to be able to identify the signs of trouble, the education is not there. We have too much or too many entertainments, you know, and people are happy about things like that. Can you imagine that on the TV, you have things like 1,000 Ways to Die? And people are more excited about how to, you know, go about these things than probably focusing on something very objective, something that will help other people to be able to overcome. The time for the psychologist, the psychologist is not even giving time. There is a fight going on there between certain professions, especially the medical profession and the spiritual profession, against the psychologist. They think the psychologist is just some, you know, carnal-minded, fleshly-minded individual. But these are people who handle people's problem, not using medication or injection, not necessarily using prayer, not using even any other form, but just talking with people and knowing what their problem is and being able to put their problems in the right perspective, in the right context, so they can help them. Unfortunately, they don't have the opportunity to do it. And we live in a place in our world where things that people don't understand, they simply mystify. And the arena of psychology is a very dicey arena. It has to do with the soulish aspect of people. And if you are not trained in this area of the mind, of the will, the decision area of people, the way people think, and even the emotions, the feelings that people have, don't try delving in there because you are spiritual. Don't even try delving in there because you know some medicines to use, because there are certain situations that people find themselves in that medicine cannot treat. And a prayer alone cannot treat. Some of them require some psychomedical approach or spiritual approach, psychosocial approach, to be able to handle the emotions, the psychical problems of people, the mental problems of people, and even sometimes the personality disorders that people have. It's sad.
Yes. We are on campus. I came to school, you know, with probably 150 cedis. You came with 1,000 cedis. But, you know, you're upset because your budget that you were expecting your dad to give you was 3,000, and he slashed your budget to 2,000. So you were brokenhearted. I have 3 boyfriends. Because of my 150, I have 3 boyfriends who I manage and they sort me out. You have one and you're complaining of a broken heart. And so I come to your dorm and you're sitting down with your 1,000 cedis, your boyfriend is dumped you, and you're dying. Here am I with 100 cedis. I have my 3 boyfriends.
You're functioning.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, we're different. That's one thing we need to make sure. We're different. We have different emotional setups, and our tolerance levels vary. Therefore, what may be normal to one person may not be normal to another person. And for that matter, you shouldn't say that the person is mad, because...
But it's real though. I mean, you say, oh, my father only gave me 1,000. Well, my father didn't give you nothing. He's not even there.
Fine, you'll find the person weird, but that is not for you to judge the person and go ahead and tell the person that you are not correct. Okay? Again, it depends on even how you say that you are not correct. Is it jokingly or very serious?
No, but you see, even though I'm painting a scenario, I mean, they will be very serious because here I am. I'm skint. I am jumping from boy to boy just to see me through the term. Your father's giving you 1,000. Some skinny boy is dumped you and you think that's the end of the world. You know, so how do I empathize with you? I don't.
Exactly. So if you don't, then the person, you see, for me, one thing I have a problem with when it comes to our educational setup is that when you're going to school, you have the medical exams done. Nobody does any psychological exam. Be you in the primary school, be you in the secondary school, be you in the tertiary institution. And that is one thing we need to do. Because if we don't, then you realize that there's a gap. And that will then determine the person's personality type and help you to know even at times how to put them together. But if you put a quote and unquote one who feels that life is all about entertainment with somebody who thinks it's serious work, then there'll always be conflict, you see. And then when it comes to these kinds of people, there's the need to be able to at times consult or give them the access and an easier access to a psychologist or a counselor, which we don't do. In most of the schools, you hardly find a counselor. If you do, then there's 1 to about 3,000 students, which is not, I mean, it is not normal. You can't work like that. So we need to be able to structure things in such a way that we make counseling and psychologists available to the students and the general populace so that they'll be able to access their help and deal with their problems efficiently.
The other things, you know, I've followed my wife to a couple of schools where she goes to give speeches. And then after she said, look, everybody write your problems on a sheet of paper, but don't add your name. And I could sum of, and I'm talking, normally, yeah, like, you know, senior high schools. Some of the things the students will write on the paper.
I know.
And then you realize that, you know, so are all, you know, this amount of damaged, you know, they're literally damaged, baggage, you know, going through life with this baggage. How do we help? You know, and where do you? Whose responsibility is to intervene?
Well, depending on where you find them. If you find them within the school setting, then the school authorities have a responsibility. Parents have a greater responsibility. And for me, I believe that a lot of these things are occurring because as parents, we've lost it. We don't take time to figure out what is happening in the lives of our children. And for that matter, the children feel deserted. They feel like I'm on my own and I have to survive anyhow. So then they do things the way they think is okay. And unfortunately, like I'm saying, our services are not also sought. So then they are there and then they do what the jumping and everything that is there. So there's a need to synchronize between the parents, the school authorities, and the counselors or the psychologists. That would, for me, I think that it would reduce the number of suicides we are currently experiencing.
Professor Todo, I mean, some of these complaints, my father is sleeping with me, my brother is sleeping with me, my mother knows the hotel next door man sleeps with me, but because she can't give me my school fees, she's turning a blind eye. I turn up at this guy's door and the boys are right. I don't know whether I'm gay or whether I'm not, I'm straight. And they just right. And it's just endless, 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 endless. You know, my parents don't love me and this and that, you know. And then, but some of these, you know, predominantly go through a church. Predominantly, they go through some sort of a church. A few may go through a mosque because of the population divide. So can the church also spot these things, or it's just Sunday school, sing, pray, and then go home?
I really believe that even the seminaries or the Bible schools must have some kind of program on their curriculum to teach them about these psychological issues and problems. In fact, they have pastoral counseling and care, but very often it is devoid of the clinical aspects, where people are just looking at the spiritual parts of people alone. But then there should be programs where pastors who are in training are taught about how to handle these problems, so that in their preaching they can come up with specific teachings that will be able to help the congregation develop the ability to be able to cope. We all have different abilities to cope with challenges. Our internal resources and external resources must be able to help us to be able to deal with certain problems. Unfortunately, when people are in the midst of a problem, they don't even know what to do. They are confused. And somebody should be able to guide them. Unfortunately, it's all about preaching concerning heaven and maybe some materialistic needs that people must have met, finances, and we have overlooked the emotional and the psychological aspects of people. The gospel should be balanced. And if you have not been trained even in that, and it doesn't matter, you may have in your congregation, or you may have a psychologist or a counselor somewhere you can invite to come and talk to the congregation. There must be programs that have been put in place for people to go through. The youth should go through such programs that are maybe set aside from the normal conventions that we organize to preach along certain lines. People have problems, and man is a holistic being. We are spirit, soul, and body, and we should be able to meet the needs of the spirit, meet the needs of the body, and also meet the needs of the soul. Unfortunately, the soul, like I said, is not understood by many people. So they don't really know how to meet the needs of the soul. They think by going through the spirit alone, they will be able to reach out the soul, but the soul becomes void, empty. And that loneliness, that gap, causes people to want to find solution. And some of these solutions become very disastrous at the end of it all.
If you're in a university setting like this, where there's thousands and thousands of people, feeling lonely can be extremely stressful in the midst of people.
Especially when you are not understood by others. It is like you're in a deep ocean all by yourself. It's not a pleasant feeling. And you have people, a few, who would approach you and explain to you what it is they're feeling. And then through interaction, you are able to help them know that, look, maybe today is a rainy day. It will shine tomorrow, you know, so that is not the end of the world. You need to move on, etc. But then there are some that I don't really know how to express it. It's difficult for them to even approach you. Irrespective of how you have endeared yourself to them, their personality and the way they've been brought up makes it difficult for them to feel free to approach you. And therefore, with those people, there are times when they'll go through maybe a friend to get to you, no problem. But once they seek that help, it helps them. But there are lots of them who just may not know who to approach when there's a challenge. And because the systems are not being firmed, that, for example, in every institution of maybe 500 people, there should be 2 or 3 counselors. If there's only one counselor who has to take care of the 500, it's a huge task. And if you want to give up all your best for the people you take care of, then it will be difficult for you to take care of them at least 2, 3 times in a semester. You know, so it is best or better if the institutions will make available the opportunity, like Prof is saying, for people to speak with them and educate them on what to do and what not to do periodically. You know, in a semester, if you can get maybe 2, 3 times somebody with the expertise to come and talk to them, and then make available the interaction period, it will help a lot.
Aku, should the clinical psychology fraternity I think you need to remarket yourselves, and then maybe clear some of the perceptions, maybe hire a marketing team to remarket yourself to, you know, clear the old perception, because we are desperate now. And the only, you know, well, the main source to our help, we don't have trust in them. Prof, let me...
That is very true. It's very, very true. You know, we have written to a lot of institutions to send people to our college to be trained. We are a professional counselor training school. And we have written to them. We are praying that there will be responses, because this area of psychology is not really understood by many people. And as you are saying, yes, the marketing is very, very important. I used to consult in a hospital, and I tell you, it got to a point where the doctors would not refer cases to me. There is just a struggle between us. They say, what would the psychologist or the counselor do with this case? Maybe the person is having an anger problem, or is going through some kind of stress. Maybe he's going through some domestic problems. And he's come to hospital with a problem that requires some medication. But without somebody, he wants somebody to talk to, somebody to help them resolve the conflict. But he doesn't get a person. The doctor only writes a medicine and says, go and take. Even sometimes how to take the medicine. They don't even have the time, because they've not been trained really to talk much. So they just write for you and you go home. Because you are going through a problem that has not been resolved, the medication is even not effective. It doesn't really work, especially when it comes to lifestyle diseases. So to be honest, every hospital, every educational institution, in fact, wherever human beings are, the services of psychologists, counselors, professionals are very, very, very needed to avert this sort of problems that we are having. If this thing is not really done quickly, we may be engulfed with something more serious very, very soon. The streets are not safe. Nowhere is safe. The schools are not safe. We leave people to themselves and expect that these people will be able to learn and do certain things. When it comes to the human emotions, I tell you, it can be overwhelming for people. And then they just throw in the towel and something catastrophic happens.
Should there be maybe an app where you can log on to and then talk to a psychologist online and share your problems, so at least they don't see you, you don't see them, and then share your problem?
Sure. Well, that is one thing that I was just discussing with the counseling unit at our place. And we're trying to set up one of those. But It will be good.
Because the universities would definitely use it because they are all computer savvy.
Sure. So yes, it would be a good idea, and we're just trying to see how best we can try out a few and see whether it's effective. Because we've realized that people have problems, but because they're scared they'll be judged, they don't want to come out and say that this is my problem. So in that case, you just send the message anonymously, and then let us also communicate on that, and that is it. So there's the need to create avenues where people would come out with their problems.
You may build the confidence and say, I wouldn't mind seeing you personally now.
Exactly. So after a number of times, we are hoping that after interacting with you on that, I don't know you basis, and you helping the person to a certain point, he or she will feel confident enough to then approach you physically. And then you deal with the issues as they come.
Prof, I mean, you know, we come from a side of the world where if you tell somebody you're stressed, well, you're stressed, which means you're never about stress, you know. We don't believe stress is an illness, you know. So how do we educate people to understand that, look, stress is real and that somebody can be, you know, clinically stressed?
Well, you buy a new car and start using the car. It doesn't take long before the engine oil becomes dark, and you have to change it. That's even a vehicle. If you don't change it, the engine will wear, and very soon you will have a breakdown. Life, as we go through life, like a vehicle, we are encountered by stressful situations or daily hassles, traffic situations, financial, economic problems, domestic challenges, even in the work environment, in school, the difficulties that people go through to be able to learn, and even some difficult human beings who refuse to, they will not change, but you have to live with these impossible people. As you try to adjust yourself here and there with these people, you go through a lot of stressful situations. So stress is part of us. We have deadlines given to people working in the banking, you know, environment. Even those of you in the media, you have to go to places and do certain things that probably you may be tired, but you have to do it. You go through a lot of challenges, stressful situations. You need help. The fact is that if stress overstays with you for far too long, you don't find a way to be able to offload, or you don't find a way to distress. They say that even a die-hard battery, if you used to buy die-hard battery and you are in the habit of leaving the light on, even a die-hard will finally die. And so stress that overstays kills, and it can lead to a lot of physical and emotional consequences, which may spill over into your health, spill over into the home, the family, and all these things, and cause a lot of troubles or problems for people. We don't have to die prematurely. We need to be able to fulfill the reason why God sent us on this earth. There should be somebody we should go to be able to help us. The psychologist, the counselor, will be able to help us unwind and distress and live a free life, you know, happy. Some situations may never change. Some situations we don't have control over. What you can control, all you need to do is to learn some adjustment techniques to be able to survive in the midst of unchanging circumstances.
Let's see, but so what is an acceptable stress limit? So let's say I get to the trotro station and I just missed the trotro, and I am fuming and I'm raging because I missed the trotro. Somebody comes and the trotro is not there, it's even raining, and he tries to just walk, you know, even to work. So where is an acceptable stress limit so that society can say, oh, this was too much, or this is okay? And I think that's where we are getting we think there's a normal stress limit that at least everybody should go through. And that's why I come and say, oh, she's 18, she suffered a broken heart, and you're thinking, are you serious? At this age, get off it. Because, you know, I'm probably 35, not even married. You are 18 and you say, what? You got a book, yeah? You know, so is there any such thing as a normal stress limit?
Well, you see, like I said earlier, we're all different people. We have different personalities. And therefore, it will be difficult to judge everybody, or it's not right even, to judge everybody using the same rule. But that notwithstanding, if we are educated, and I'm not talking about going to school to learn, but if we are told about coping mechanisms and coping strategies, it will be easier for us to deal with some of these things. The example you gave of having missed the trotro and therefore ranting and raging, then you ask yourself, after doing that, what do I gain? Will that rant and rave take you where you're going? If not, what is the next best alternative? How long, how soon will that other vehicle come for you to get to the place?
See, but unless they meet somebody with your temperament, but if they are unfortunate to meet somebody else at the trotro station, they'll probably add to the guy's stress by thinking, are you serious? Get off it.
Well, life is full of alternatives and options. Life is full of it. Unfortunately, if you are in the midst of a problem, you cannot see the alternatives. That is why the counselor, the psychologist is there to be able to help you. See, one door is closed, but 7 others are open. Would you like to go through this one? And they are able to encourage you to go to it. It makes things a bit easier for you, you know, and this is a way of minimizing your stress.
Liz, how easy or how hard is it for somebody to reach the point and say, listen, I'm going to jump, hang, slash, take pills?
It is not easy. It is like the last resort. When the person has come to his or her wit's end and doesn't know anymore how to deal with the situation, that is when, especially if the person doesn't have a mental disorder, that is when the person will decide that, look, this is the way to go. At times, it's as a result of humiliation, feeling like, okay, everybody's laughing at me, nobody appreciates me, nobody motivates me to do anything good. They see me and they're like, oh, you are the loser, you are this, you are that. So as a result of all those negative things, they just decide that, look, maybe you don't like me, my company is not needed, and therefore why don't I take my life? You know, so it is not like first out, this is what it is. But they go through a lot of ifs, if this, that, if that, that. They weigh a lot of things before, because when you talk to some survivors of suicide, they'll tell you the sort of things they went through and why they attempted it, you know.
Is it, again, probably a silly question, but is there like a time they say, look, averagely they would have thought about it for a week or a day or 2 days?
Again, it depends on the individual. There's nothing so far. We haven't really come across, I don't know whether Prof has, but I haven't come across a time when they would say that maybe it was within 2 years or 1 year or whatever. But every individual is unique. And therefore, for the survivors, there are different things. Some will survive and some will reattempt to kill themselves.
Wow. It's a very unfortunate state to find yourself in, and even more unfortunate when, you know, those says, such a beautiful girl, you know, why would she do that? You know, she had everything going for him or her. Why would he do that? Prof?
There are risk factors that must be taken into consideration where somebody is having to depend on alcohol or drugs and so on. It increases the risk of the person attempting to commit suicide as a way of coping, probably coping with the stress they are going through, which they don't know the way out for. Then some people come from family backgrounds that have histories of such attempts. And anybody who has even attempted it before, they are likely to repeat it. People get into a state of broken heart. They think there is no other way out. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so disgraced. I don't need to live any longer. People don't have to see me any longer. I'm a burden. I'm a problem onto other people. And then you begin to see the signs. They withdraw from friends and family and everybody, want to be all by themselves. And within that time, people begin to contemplate. They begin to think very, very, very much. And depending on their personality type, whatever answers they give themselves, sometimes it makes sense to them. People may be going through some kind of disorders where they may depart from reality. Their life is characterized by patterns of unrealistic thinking or unrealistic living, and yet they think that's the right thing for them to do. Mm-hmm. And then you can tell, like she's saying, you will not be able to put anything specific to it and say that it has to take this number of days before it happens, or that. It depends. Anybody can just end it at any time.
How do we help society?
To help society, I feel first of all we must make society safe. We need to provide support groups, people that will be available for people to feel confident well enough to talk to when they have problems. And I want to say that God has really given these people called psychologists, professional counselors. They have been trained, like medical doctors have been trained to attend to our bodies when we are sick. These people have been trained. They will be able to listen to you. They have ethics that govern their profession. They will never leak out your information to anybody. Come and feel free and talk to them and let them help you, let them support you. We need to put in place support groups, even in the churches and so in families, so that people will be able to go to them for love, for encouragement. Everybody needs it.
Prof, the way our society is now, should there be also, training for people to learn to empathize? Because I think that's what happens, because you find yourself maybe away from home and the people just can't understand you because they think your problem is no problem. I haven't eaten for a week and you're telling me you missed breakfast. So what? You are fine.
Absolutely. There must be constant education, talks, workshops, programs. Must be just as when we were young, we have this civic education as part of the curriculum of the primary school. These things must be put into the curriculum now, so that people are taught how to live certain forms of life and how to be their brother's keepers without being judgmental, without being self-righteous, because we are all human beings and we can all be vulnerable. Anything can happen to any. We all need one another. We should learn how to empathize rather than accuse and judge people and make them to feel very, very bad.
Liz, are you in support a forum on how to empathize? Because we are very blasé to people's issues. Because the first thing you do is you look at what you are going through, and then you compare and you think, "May, I want your problem." I want your problem. So why are you complaining? Should there be forums like that, and can it help?
It should. It should. For me, I'm for anything that would help people to reorient ourselves as to the fact that, look, something that we may think is okay with us may not necessarily be okay with the other person, and therefore have a listening ear. And through that, there are people who don't need anything from anybody but just to listen. And once you do that, you have solved the person's problem. So we need to encourage one another. We need to encourage the youth. We need to encourage grown-ups, because sometimes this year, even an 86-year-old man, I am told, committed suicide. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with just the youth. Even adults do. And therefore, we need to create environments that would help people to feel free enough to talk to somebody. And through that, help them reduce whatever burdens they have and not be too judgmental. We are too judgmental. You are too carnal. You are selfish. You are dadaba, and all these things, but they don't help. They rather aggravate the person's problem.
Nana, the most guilty people in this area are people in the church. There are a lot of people with problems. Let's say marital problems. And nobody wants to listen to them. As soon as you start, they condemn you. They can even take side with another person, the other partner, probably because of what he gives or because of his appearance and so on. And they will not listen to you. And such people, they feel like, if my pastor won't listen to me, the elders won't listen to me, unfortunately, you run to your family. And your mother says, I've lived with your father like this all these years. Get away from here. Are you the only one who has been beaten? Go and submit yourself, and so on, without really listening to your problem. They even make people to pent up and bottle up too much burden in them that finally, if they think there is nobody who supports them, okay, let me just leave this place, let me die. So in fact, this training, this conditioning about helping people to learn to be listeners, like she's saying, listening is even 50% of your problem solved. You go and speak somewhere and say, oh really? Oh no, you are going through this. Sorry, you are a great woman. Don't worry, I'll pray with you. And so on and so. The person feels that for the first time, somebody has had time to listen to me. That is even 50% of problems solved. The rate of divorce that we are even having in our world now is simply because people are not empathizing, they are not listening.
Are there any helplines, Liz? You know if there's any helpline that people can call anonymously to say, listen, I'm going through this?
Currently, no. Not that I know of.
Maybe some of us should volunteer. Our lines, say call us anytime you have a problem.
Well, I don't know if I mean, you don't have to, but if you have any line that you think you can put out, I'll let you put a number out, and there may be somebody watching who wants to talk to somebody.
Just talk to me. I'm available, and I believe my sister is available for free.
Yeah, so
0246 521 254.
0246
0246 521 254. Call me.
So 0246 521
254.
254. Liz, I don't know if you have a number. It's not, maybe if you don't have a private number. If you don't have a non-private number.
They can call the station and take my number.
Okay. So if you get in touch with us,
it's a joy. It's a joy to help people.
If you get in touch with us,
because I have many such calls already.
Okay, so if you get in touch with us, we'll pass you, because it may be a woman and wants to talk to, think they want to share with a woman. Yeah, but if you call Prof to whatever your problem, just pour out, use him as a punching bag, because that is literally 50%
exactly
of the problem. And sometimes you may be thinking you're the only one going through it, and
there are many more people.
There are many more people, so that it's not as bad as we think it is. But I think it has been really nice. But if people are listening, authority, particularly the gender ministry, I think the three of us are saying that the schools should have counselors and psychologists attached.
Trained ones,
not magicians. Trained ones attached to them, so that even if they can't be there permanently and they can visit 3 times a week, so the children can pour out. But the discount is still going for my shirts. Tantis Fashions are giving a discount, and your password is either Nana, or your code word is Nana or PM Express. The number for the shirts, don't call her with your problems, is 024 366 2001. 024 366 2001. And that's for Tantis Fashion. They're running a big discount. If you say you got the number from PM Express, you will enjoy. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you so much. It's been grateful. And to do you at home, tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. We're continuing at Ghana at 60 with our history. Don't miss that. Okay.